Hello, everybody. Hello. My name is Ada, and today we're going to be doing a questions and answer. Question time, if you so please. We are so excited to be able to answer your questions that you have asked me and my two fabulous friends that I have. But I wanted to make a point today because you are going to be asking us drag performers, drag queen, drag king, and an AFAB queen. However, I wanted to make the point to say to you that my name is Ada, but my name is also Sab. Hello. Yes, I am a drag performer and I read stories to children for a living. And I wanted to show you a little bit more of me, but not too much. So, without further ado, I know I look like this, but just wait until I look like...
Voila! Hello! Not so pretty without the wig, indeed, yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Question Time with Drag Queen Story Hour UK. We're going to be asking our fabulous other story readers some questions, and also to myself, questions that you have sent in. So first, we're going to say hello to our ever so fabulous drag king. It's Cyro!
Hello everyone, how you feeling? Good? I'm ready for question time today.
Fabulous! And we're going to now be introduced to our other fabulous drag performer. It is Claire DeLune.
Hi, how are you all? How are you all?
Woo! Hello. Okie dokie. Right, well, let's get down to the very first question. Now, people are talking about a TV show a lot, and we've got one of the questions that we're going to ask all of us. We'll start with Claire. Hello, Claire. Do you want to go on RuPaul's Drag Race? And if you were to go on, who would you impersonate in the Snatch Game?
Oh, I love that question. I would love to go on there. I would love to go on there and prove that female drag is a thing. I would love to. Snatch Game is such a strange one. I really don't know who I would be. But part of me feels like I want to be Susan Boyle. It's I'd just be sitting there with all the Britain's Got Talent jokes and just singing I Dreamed a Dream at random points of the conversation. So I think that's what I would go as, and I wouldn't have to do a lot with my face because I'm already old as it is.
That's hilarious. I think that's a really good idea, actually. Susan Boyle, that would be hilarious. I've never thought of that. I really like that idea. You just mentioned a super queen. Do you mind briefly telling us what a super queen is?
I'm a super queen, but I also like to call myself a female drag queen. There are lots of different names that is sort of to label us as it were. We've got AFAB queen, bio queen. So I prefer AFAB queen or a female drag queen. So the premise of it is the fact that we are predominantly female. Sorry, we are predominantly female who have a bigger character than ourselves, and it is assigned female at birth, which is why I prefer AFAB. That's what I prefer to be called.
Thank you so much for that. AFAB, standing for assigned female at birth. Fabulous. Over to Cyro. RuPaul's Drag Race, would you go on to it? And the Snatch Game impersonation game, what character would you like to play?
Oh, this is a difficult question because it genuinely goes round and round my mind. If I got asked to audition or to come in, because we all know how these things work, there's a producer that was like, you should apply, I would apply because I'd want to go on and do the punk thing, very similar to Ginny Lemon, but I'd want to just screw it all up and confront mainly Rue on his in his beliefs about what is quality drag or what is drag. It's really interesting to me that he has said things like, there's new things that the queens and kings are doing. Well, hasn't mentioned kings at all, but as if it's a new thing. But Stormy Levere, who was at Stonewall, threw the first punch, drag king. Like, that's part of LGBT history. Drag kings have always been there. In the UK, in the Victorian era, drag kings were the highest earners out of all performers. I think the highest earners out of any kind of job as well, in the music hall era. So drag king culture has been around and will always be around. So I'd love to represent that in the UK. The Snatch Game is so difficult. I'm obsessed with Whoopi Goldberg. She's the reason that I do any kind of performing, but I think she's a very difficult one to do. I would actually do Princess Di, and that sounds very strange, but I do a really mean Princess Di. Please don't ask me to do it now because I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, it's pretty good, spookily so. And a POC Princess Di, I mean, I think that would go down a treat.
Do you know, I actually would really love to see a POC Princess Di. I think that'd be fabulous. I actually think it would be really good. But enough of reality TV. I think it would be good to go on to the next question, which is about LGBT. And it is specifically about the LGBT plus acronym and what is the best acronym? What's the most used? What is the correct acronym? Let's find out. What do you think?
Ooh. I try to say LGBTQIA plus as much as possible, but I've also heard about the alphabet mafia, which I feel like is the best term because it's fun, it brings the community in, and it makes us feel like we're strong and together. So the alphabet mafia is one of my favourites, I must admit.
Claire, what about yourself in terms of the LGBTQ acronym? What do you think is the best acronym to use?
I use LGBTQI plus. I always remember it being just LGBT. So the fact that it's evolved so much over time, as far as I was aware of it, just shows how sort of more open it is. So I do prefer to just, like, you have to have the plus on it, definitely, but the LGBTQI plus is the acronym for me.
Fabulous. I mean, so LGBTQIA plus. Shall we go through to what they mean? So we've got L, which stands for lesbian. G stands for gay. B is for bisexual. Question to you both. Is bisexual the same as pansexual, or is it different? What's your thoughts?
This goes back and forth with me all the time, because bisexual doesn't just mean two genders. It can be a multitude of genders, just more than one, basically. So for me, I use pansexual now, but I also came out as bisexual when I was younger. So it's a difficult one because I don't even really know the slight differences because they both overlap, really. They're both in the same family, that I feel anyway.
And Claire?
So I always used to know bisexual as being very, it sounds really bad, but it's very male or female. And it was, you could love male, you could love female, and bisexual was you could love both. In my mindset, pansexuality is, it doesn't matter what gender you are. So it's not a case of I'm in love with a male, I'm in love with a female. It's you are in love with whoever that person is and whatever gender they are. So they're the differences in my mind.
Now, I personally, I've always seen bisexuality and pansexuality as a subset, is one of the other. So, if you are bisexual, you are still pansexual. But pansexual is just specifically outlining that gender also doesn't necessarily matter to you. It's a nice way of saying that you fall in love with somebody's emotion and what's inside them, and not necessarily what's outside them, which I think is really nice personally. I think everybody should be a little bit pansexual personally. So yes, we were going through the LGBT letters. So it was L is for lesbian, G is for gay, B is bisexual, T is for trans. We have got Q. Which one do we think it is? Does Q stand for queer, or does Q stand for questioning? Floors for both.
I always thought that the Q was that Q was for queer, because I thought the questioning was further on. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
I thought that too. I thought like in the plus was questioning, because I guess it's because I identify as queer, so I'm like, it has to be the queer in Q. It's probably selfish of me.
So I'm sure you'll know yourselves, but the word queer used to be used and is still used as a slur to the detriment of queer people. But in very recent years, queer has been used as an empowerment word and is now an identity in its own right, which I personally love. And I also define myself as queer in every sense of the word. From what I have read and from what I would understand, I would say that queer and the Q stands for questioning and queer. And personally, if anybody is unsure of whether or not they are questioning or queer or anything at all that begins the letter Q, feel free to add it onto our letters, because you're always welcome. So after Q, obviously, we have got I, which stands for intersex. Now, does anybody know what that means?
So intersex people can be born with reproductive organs that may not adhere to XY chromosome or XX. It's XX, isn't it? I believe. Can be a mix of both. Can be a multitude of thousands of different things. But those people basically exist biologically on a sliding scale of where we view sexual organs and sex scientifically.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So intersex is based off the outside part, as well as also the chromosomes. And people have used different words to describe it, but some of the words that we definitely say we should be using is the term intersex. And they also have a very fabulous flag. I really like the intersex flag. It's a purple circle with a yellow background, which I really love personally. Now, after Q, I, A, plus. Do we know any of the letters after the plus, or what else could be plus?
I know ally is in there. That's an A. So
yes, A for ally.
Yeah. An A for ally, I have always known to be someone who is considered straight, or of that sort of that type of community who supports the LGBTQI plus community and supports them thoroughly. Isn't just a word, but actually supports their causes and what they're fighting for. And that's what I would see an ally to be.
Asexual, demisexual, demi-romantic. Oh my god.
There's a number 2 in there as well.
Two-spirit.
Yes, two-spirit, yes. We've just done the LGBTQ plus acronym. Now, within that acronym, there is no drag, but there is T for trans. Now, can one of you tell me, as the question goes, what is the difference between drag and trans?
So, I happen to be a trans person. I'm trans non-binary. I've got the non-binary flag here. I don't have the trans one because secretly I'm not a big fan of pastels, blues and pinks. But trans is who I am. So as a trans person, I don't identify with the gender I was assigned at birth. But drag is what I do for work. So all of this, believe it or not, is my job. So I get into full makeup and hair and wig and everything, or however you do drag, and I perform, or I read stories, or I connect with audiences, and that's my job. So trans is who I am, and drag is what I do. This is the non-binary flag on my face. That's always such fun to do, to get those straight lines. I can't remember what the colours each represent. I believe yellow is for non-conforming to gender, and it's happiness and light. But this is the non-binary flag. So non-binary means it's an umbrella term for many different things, for people that are gender neutral, gender non-conforming, gender chaotic is one of my favourite ones, which I subscribe to. But I identify as both male and female, and that's kind of a sliding scale. So I'm a non-binary trans person, but they're not exclusive. So you can be a non-binary person but not identify as trans. You can be a trans person and not identify as non-binary, and you can be both.
So I always feel that trans is who someone is. There's no say in what their gender is or anything like that. It's their authentic self, and it's not a character, and it's not a deliberate play on gender. I believe that drag is a deliberate play on gender, and you can decide what you want to do in drag, who you want to be, and the choice is yours. Whereas trans, it's not a choice; it's who they are, and they are them the whole time. So I that's where I see trans and drag is very, very different. Like you said, I am assigned female at birth, but I can choose to be a character. I can choose to wear green hair. If I want to have my makeup ridiculously crazy, I can do. And drag gives you that chance to do it. But obviously, being trans, it's just who they are. It's just who they are.
We've discussed trans, and we've discussed drag, and we've discussed LGBTQ acronym, specifically also non-binary. Now, when it comes to non-binary, there are certain things which some people who aren't non-binary get a little bit confused about. And we want to make sure that we provide them with enough information to be able to go ahead into the world and not just accept these people who are non-binary, but also have an ability to understand who they are and not get worried if they're going to offend them. So here's the question. Is it ever rude to ask somebody for their pronouns?
That's a great question, actually, because I think a lot of people do worry about that. Even me personally, being she, her, my whole life, I've never really thought maybe when I was younger that there possibly could be other genders and so many different pronouns. So, I mean, I'm quite lucky because I have been asking, and I do have friends that I asked them. I don't think it is rude to ask somebody what their pronouns are. I think it's disrespectful if you ask someone what their pronouns are and then continue to not use those pronouns. I think that is one of a massive no-no. And if you are going to be that ignorant, don't ask in the first place. That's like just a thing for me. It's such an easy conversation to do, and not a lot of people do it. And I understand that. I think a lot of trans and non-binary people, they would appreciate it, because if you find out exactly what their pronoun is and you continue to like speak to them with that pronoun, they're going to feel so accepted, so loved just by using your pronouns. So yeah, I definitely think it's something that needs to be spoken about more, and I don't think it's rude at all. If anything, I think it's something that needs to be respected and done more often.
So yeah, everything that Claire said, absolutely. Being asked my pronouns is really affirming. It tells me that person respects me and is interested in making sure that I feel comfortable in that space. Misgendering is something that trans and non-binary people have to go through all the time, and there's and that level of misgendering on a constant basis can have a really adverse effect on your mental health. So signing off emails, for instance, with your pronouns is really helpful. Even if you are a cis person, which means that you identify with the gender you're assigned at birth, having your pronouns on your social media accounts or your emails, it means that you're opening that conversation to everyone else, and so if there's people that are trans or non-binary, they feel that they can have a conversation with you, and that's already something there. I always say it's as easy as changing from Ms. to Mrs. I feel like that's something that a lot of heteronormative people make a big deal about, like, oh, you're Mrs. now, or and changing your last name. That's something that people do very easily. So learning my pronouns is the same as learning my name. So if I introduce myself, I'll say my name is Cyro, he, they, and then out of drag something else. But it's just as easy as saying your name.
I think it's really important actually to obviously ask people their pronouns. I actually have a really good way of saying it, and I've seen other people say this too. It's how can people not struggle by calling Squirtle Wartortle when they evolve, but not being able to call somebody that by their pronouns when they decide to tell you that they actually differ from what they may have been quite recently. I had one of my good friends come out to me as non-binary only just the other day. And I was there going, oh, that's cool. I love that. And what you said, saying that it was just very affirming when somebody asks you for pronouns. It's like when somebody says, do you have a partner? It's like the same thing when it comes to non-hetero relationships. When someone says, do you have a partner? It's almost affirming that the person asking you is also aware that, you may not have a partner of the opposite sex, which is affirming. I really like the way that you put that. So, do you have a job outside of being a drag performer?
Okay, so I do drag secondary now. I think with COVID, it's been very, very difficult to try and continue to do drag. So drag is a secondary job for me. At the moment, I currently work for a company who helps with electricity, with gas, the home, phone and broadband. So I currently work there. Before I joined there, though, I actually was a train guard for 10 years. So I was actually the one that would come through and check tickets. And so you may have seen me around London, going all the way to the south. And so that's what I used to do before I did drag. I was a train guard. So it was, really exciting. But then, I mean, I've always been performing as well as part of a secondary job. It's always been there. And just before COVID, I was just starting to get sort of more drag work in, and then I was just nearly ready, thinking about it logically, to leave my current job to do drag full time. And then COVID hit, and it's completely pushed me back, but it's something to go for in the future, definitely.
So I do drag, acting, writing, and activism. So before COVID, before the times of COVID, actually drag became my main earner, like my main income, which is really interesting because a lot of people do think it's a hobby or something that can be outside of your primary job, but drag was paying the bills. But alongside that, I am acting and writing and doing activism, but all of those have a root in queer performance, so that they all kind of run in the same vein of that kind of art.
So I hope there's been lots of questions. It's been quite erratic with questions and discussions and tons of thoughts. And this has just been a very open question and answers for everyone just to listen and ask themselves a question themselves. And I hope that there has been information here for you to take on board. We're going to say goodbye to Claire first, and then we'll say goodbye to Cyro. So Claire, thank you so much for having us. Oh my God. We're going to say goodbye to Claire now. So Claire, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you have a lovely rest of the day.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. It was lovely to have you. Bye-bye, Claire. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, and Cyro, thank you so much yourself. It's been so lovely to have you.
It's been wonderful being here. I've absolutely loved it.
There is a question I've got here. I wasn't sure how to do it. We can either put some photos up later. I don't know what your suggestion is, but it is, what do you look like out of drag?
Oh, really? Well, I have some makeup wipes here. Do you fancy a competition?
What have you got in mind for a competition?
Well, we could see who can take off all of this the fastest.
But I've got tons of glitter!
I think you'll handle it fine. I'm pretty confident in my abilities, but I do have to get this wig off.
Okay, okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
On a count of 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. These wipes are amazing. Oh, it's so sad. See?
Oh, look at that.
Oh, gorgeous. Oh my god! You look like one of Scrooge's the ghosts in the chains. Hit by 3 girls with the grey. Oh no, no!
Okay. Okay, we're doing it, we're doing it, we're doing it. Oh, I think I've done it.
I'm done. I've been done.
And there you have it. My name is Ada.
My name is Cyro.
And this has been Question Time. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.